Still a nation. Looks like we got a new offensive coordinator, and that name is Brian Angelichio. He worked with the Minnesota Vikings last season as their offensive pass game coordinator or something like that, and now he's a Pittsburgh Steelers offensive coordinator. So we finally got our offensive coordinator. I was in favor for them to hire Scott Tolzien, but he went back to the Saints, and then get Chris Haslett, who's the son of former NFL coach Jim Haslett. But he turned that Steelers job down, and now they're both back with New Orleans. But anyway, we got a new offensive coordinator in Brian Angelichio. So, yeah. Hi, everybody. Join Steel 88 with another video. I'm going to talk about the new offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Brian Angelichio. So let's jump right into it. Oh, man, I'm liking this. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, by recording this video on February 4th, 2026, a couple hours ago, they had hired a new offensive coordinator, Brian Angelichio. Now, Angelichio, he started at Southern University, New York, as Brockport as secondary course in 1995 for one season. Then went to this college called Italia, or if I can say it right. He was linebackers coach there for 2 seasons. Then moved up to wide receivers coach in the same college in '98, and moved up to offensive line coach in 1999. And then he got promoted to offensive coordinator and offensive line coach for 5 seasons in a college called Angelichio or something like that. And then he went to Pitt to be the offensive assistant and tight ends coach for 1 year, and got promoted to tight ends coach for 3 seasons at Pitt. And then he went to Rutgers to be the tight ends coach in 2011 for 1 year. And then he went back to the pros and coached the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from 2012 to 2013 as a tight ends coach. Then he coached the Cleveland Browns in 2014 to 2015 for 2 seasons as a tight ends coach, same position. He worked under Mike McCarthy for 3 seasons in Green Bay from 2016 to 2018 as a tight ends coach. And then with the Redskins, who were the Redskins back then, but now the Commanders, it was a tight ends coach for 1 year, and then went to Carolina Panthers for 2 seasons from 2020 to 21 as the same position, and then the Minnesota Vikings as a pass game coordinator and tight ends coach for 4 seasons, excuse me. And now he's an offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. Now during his time with the Minnesota Vikings last season, he played a role of guys like T.J. Hockenson and Justin Jefferson. I mean, when we went with Minnesota, they had like a top rated pass defense, pass offense, excuse me, that year. So because he helped tight he was helping the tight ends most likely T.J. Hockenson of the Minnesota Vikings, who became a star tight end for them. So I think we was with the Vikings for 4 seasons, excuse me, because the offense was, I mean, they were pretty good in his first couple years, and then wasn't that good in the past season. So because they were ranked 26 in points and 28 in points, that being the Vikings offense where he coached, where he was tight ends coach, something like that. And like I was saying, he played a role in guys like T.J. Hockenson, Jordan Addison, and Justin Jefferson. So yeah, we're doing this time with Minnesota. But now we were with Carolina. He helped tight ends like Tommy Tremble and Ian Thomas. And Thomas had 20 receptions for 145 yards in 2020, while also blocking for Christian McCaffrey, who had over 100,000 yards from scrimmage for the first time in his career. That'd be Christian McCaffrey, who's now plays for the 49ers. And he is another Mike McCarthy guy, by the way, because when he was coaching in Green Bay with Mike McCarthy, he was working with tight ends like Jimmy Graham and Jared Cook. So yeah, and then during his time in Cleveland, he got tight ends like Gary Barnidge, who who got selected to the Pro Bowl. Now Angelichio, he worked with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he had tight ends like Tim Wright, who was an undrafted rookie. He had 54 receptions and for 571 yards in 2012. So, and going back to Minnesota, if I gotta get my understanding, because T.J. Hockenson in 2025, he had 51 receptions for 138 yards and an 8.9 yard average and 3 touchdowns. And then tight end for the Vikings, Josh Auburn had 50 receptions for 160 yards and a career high 4 touchdowns in 2025. And of course, he played a role. He helped Justin Jefferson, and we all know Justin Jefferson is a elite wide receiver, and he finished with last season with 84 receptions for 1,048 yards and 2 touchdowns. While Jordan Addison, he had 42 receptions, 610 yards, and a 14.52 yard average and 3 touchdowns. I mean, they had J.J. McCarthy, he was kind of average in my opinion, but he finished the season with 11 touchdowns under um Angelichio. I know he went with offensive coordinator though, so yeah. So, but by the way, during the 2023 season, he um he helped T.J. Hockenson get 95 receptions of at least 20 yards in 2023, and he was also tied for second in receiving first downs 48 and fourth receiving yards 960. I mean, like I was saying, he was playing the role of T.J. Hawkinson's career, that being Angelichio. Now, this could benefit Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington, pretty much. I mean, because Pat Freiermuth is due to break out. He's been with the Steelers for about 5 seasons, and he has to put up these crazy numbers and all that type of stuff. Because we had so many different offensive coordinators and all that shit. Because the offensive coordinators we had, they weren't all that good at all with Pat Freiermuth. Because we had offensive coordinators like Matt Canada and Arthur Smith. They weren't very good offensive coordinators at all, in my opinion, not at all. Because I think I got a feeling that Brian Angelichio, man, he's got to be pretty much an upgrade over Arthur Smith. But he's not going to be calling the plays. So, because we all know Michael Crow's going to call the offensive plays, pretty much where we have who was our quarterback. It was Will Howard, or Aaron Rodgers if Aaron Rodgers decides to come back, or Mason Rudolph. So, yeah, man. So that's Brian Angelichio that the Steelers hire as their offensive coordinator. Now they made some. They made some. They had some other hires though to the coaching staff. So I'm gonna start with the hires they made. Now the Pittsburgh Steelers they had hired former defensive coordinator Sean Howe. Sean Howe he was a defensive coordinator of this college Montana State, I believe. So and now he's going to be the Steelers outside linebackers coach and edge rushers coach with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So and that's going to benefit guys like Jack Sawyer, T.J. Watt, Nick Herbig, and Alex Highsmith. So and the Steelers they made some other hires too. So the other hires they have made are the guy, and then they hired a new special teams coach, and that is Danny Crossman. Danny Crossman wasn't he worked with the Miami Dolphins last season, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. And well, during his time in Miami, the Dolphins had four consecutive winning seasons. So when he was a special teams coach, because Danny Crossman, he worked with guys like kickers like Jason Sanders with the Miami Dolphins, and guys like and then punter Jake Bailey during his time with Miami. So so Danny Crossman replaces Danny Smith, who's still loved though. So yeah, so so Danny Crossman working the Steel Nation. They made some other hires too, and they hired the new defensive lineman coach. That is no, we'll go back. We'll go back to Danny Crossman's coaching history. I'm sorry. Let me go back. He first got his special teams coach job at U.S. Coastal Guard Academy and as a defensive back special teams coach in 1993. He then went to Western Kentucky for 2 seasons as defensive backs coach. Spent 1 season with Western Kentucky as outside linebackers coach, and then he spent 2 seasons with UCF as defensive backs coach and special teams coordinator. And then for 2 seasons, they moved to Georgia. Got hired to Georgia Tech for 2 seasons as defensive ends coach and special teams coordinator. And then he got promoted to defensive backs coach in 2001 to be at Georgia Tech and special teams coordinator. In Michigan, then he went to Michigan State to be the linebackers coach and special teams coordinator. And he will get to the pros to be the Carolina Panthers special teams assistant for 2 seasons, and then got promoted to special teams coach with the Carolina Panthers and the stable Carolina Panthers special teams coordinator. And then he went to Detroit to be the special teams coordinator for 3 seasons, and then Buffalo Bills for 6 seasons, I believe, as a special teams coordinator. And now he stayed with Miami as a special teams coordinator for 2 seasons, then assistant coach and special teams coordinator, and then he officially became the special teams coordinator for Miami Dolphins. And now they hired him as special teams coach like about a day or so ago, and that is Danny Crossman that I was just talking about. So yeah, and they made another hire. They made another hire. That's not all. And they hire assistant coach and secondary coach Joe Witt Jr. from the Commanders. Now Joe Witt, he started as a student assistant with the Auburn Tigers from 2000 to 2001 as a student assistant. Then went to Citadel Bulldogs for 1 year to be the wide receivers coach. Then went to Louisville Cardinals for 4 seasons from 2002 to 2006 to be the quarterbacks coach and recruiting coordinator. And he went to the pros in 2007 to be the Atlanta Falcons assistant defensive backs coach. Then the next year he went to then in 2008 he was the Green Bay Packers defensive quality coach, and then he got promoted to cornerbacks coach in 2009 with the Packers and pass game coordinator in 2018. And then went to Cleveland Browns to be the pass game coordinator / secondary coach. Then he returned to the Falcons to be the pass game coordinator and secondary coach. And then he worked under Mike McCarthy. I think he did work under Mike McCarthy, if I'm not mistaken, from 2000 to 2021 to 2023 as the Cowboys pass game coordinator. Then went to Commanders for 2 seasons to be their defensive coordinator. And now he's hired for the Pittsburgh Steelers to be the assistant secondary coach. Well, yeah. Like I was saying, that he did work with under Mike McCarthy it like a couple of times in 2008 and 2018, and went with the Dallas Cowboys in 2021 and 2023, if I'm not mistaken. So he is assistant head coach and secondary. This is secondary, I believe, because we just promoted Jason Simmons to be the defensive backs coach after Jerry Alexander left. So yeah, and he played guys like Trayvon Diggs and dealt with Dallas, recorded 3 interceptions, 14 pass forced. Because he played the role of these guys though. But with the Commanders, when he was defensive coordinator, he helped Barry White become a key contributor for that defense. So, so that is the new secondary coach, new assistant coach, um, Joe Witt Jr. Now they made some other hires too, and that is and they got a new defensive line coach because we just lost Carl Dunbar to the Jets because Carl Dunbar is now the defensive line coach of the Jets, and we got a new defensive line coach, and that is Dominic Petco. Now Dominic Petco, we all know him for his playing days against the Bengals. So because Dominic Petco, he previously coached he previously coached he was previously the defensive line coach of the Colorado Buffaloes under Deion Sanders last season. So yeah, and during his playing days with the in the NFL, because Dominic Petco, he was a Bengals fourth overall pick in the 2006 draft. He played about he spent 15 years in the NFL playing for four teams: the Bengals, the Broncos, the Ravens, and the Arizona Cardinals. Because we remember him his playing days with the Bengals. I mean, he wasn't that much of a beast playing for the Bengals, but because he came out of Michigan State during the 2006 draft. So he's a Samoan dude, man. So yeah, man. So he did some other coaching too, though, if I'm mistaken. Yeah. So, hmm. So yeah, because we all know Dominic Pecco, man. So yeah, because Dominic, so he started. Oh, and he was under Mike McCarthy too in Dallas though. I forgot about that. He coached with Mike McCarthy in 2024 as an assistant coach order as an assistant coach with Mike McCarthy, I believe. And then of course he became the defensive line coach of the Colorado Buffaloes under Deion Sanders. So that is the Dominic Pecco. So yeah, and they and they made and they made one more hire that is Pat Riley. If I say his name right, so they made other because Pat Riley is a not Pat real I think it's Pat Riley. You know, if I say his name right, he's a defensive quality coach. So Pat Riley, where he came from before that. So yeah, because they made her like Pat. Yeah, so he's a defensive quality coach, Pittsburgh Steelers, and he worked under, and Pat really, and Pat really, it was a rally or something like that. He before the Steelers hired him, he was working with the Houston Texans as an assistant linebackers coach and defensive quality coach with coach and he he worked with the Jacksonville Jaguars for 2 seasons. No, yeah, 2.5 seasons though. So yeah, so he worked with both Houston and Jacksonville as the linebackers and defensive quality control during that time. And then back before that in college, and he had roles in Alabama as a defensive analyst for 3 seasons, and went to UCLA, played as an assistant quality control, and worked with Syracuse as a graduate assistant, and then worked with Southern University, New York, Brockport. So yeah, so yeah, man, those are those. So that is the offensive coordinator I talked about in Brian Angelichio and the other hires that I just talked about. So well, I like these hires though. They're pretty good hires in my opinion. So yeah, but I still think Mike McCarthy ain't still won me over though. So because this probably got to work in 2026. So in the 2026 season though. So yeah. So let me know your thing down in the comment section down below about the offensive coordinator hires and the other hires that I just talked about. Like I was saying, Brian Anchilo is the upgrade over Arthur Smith and definitely upgrade over Matt Canada. I got a feeling that Anchilo he's gonna do a pretty good job. Although he's not gonna call the plays, Robert Kirby's gonna call the plays for the offense. So so I like these hires so far, man. I like these hires so far. They are pretty good. Can y'all do it on the field though in 2026 though? That's what I'm wondering. Because I'm hoping these hires are working though. So I'm not hearing too much hype over Will Howard and all these type of things. But hey, we'll see what happens, man. So yeah, I like these hires. Hope they works in 2026. If Robert Carter wants to win more as a fan, you better make this whole thing work on the football field during the 2026 season. Even if you do pretty good in free agency and the draft. So yeah, let's see. I hope it works still in the nation because these hires are just getting me almost pumped up. But hey, we'll see during the regular season, man. So yeah, because these are one hell of a hires though. So yeah, I like these hires though. So I know it sucks we lost Carl Dunbar, but Dominic Pecco replaced him though because Carl Dunbar is now the assistant is now the defensive line coach of the New York Jets though. So before I heard, so yeah. So with that being said, if you click on the video, thank you. I appreciate you. So this is George Steele 88. I'll see you guys in my next video. And as always, here we go, Steelers. Here we go.